Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Taking Over, our Battleground post show today. And I mentioned earlier, Ed will not be here tonight because he's on site watching Battleground. So I had to get a special guest for tonight, none other than the wonderful, the talented, and hardworking Ella J. How are you, Ella?
What's up, Astrid? I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
I'm kind of nervous. I'm not used to all these buttons because Ed usually does this, but we can make it work because I'm with you tonight.
We got
um,
this.
And to start here, we have Paris saying hello in Carl Turnbuckle Studios. Oh my God, it's Ella and Astrid. There you go. Um, I think we might have Ed calling in as he's on his way home from the show to tell us what it's like in the arena tonight. But before he comes in, we'll definitely start discussing the pay per view what we had going on tonight. Um, Paris, I totally forgot I used to be on the show.
In
Laugh a lot,
4 minutes,
JK.
Parish. In 4 minutes.
It's way too short. Way too short. But no, before anything, I want to thank you for being here. I know you're a busy person, but I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me because I don't get to do the stuff with you often. So it's nice to be together again.
I know, like I said on Twitter, I haven't done a post show since Money in the Bank of last year, so I'm a little rusty in the post show department, but it's good to get those reps in and be here with you.
Yep. Well, let's start with the beginning as we usually do. First off, during the kickoff, the only thing that really came out about the show itself, we had Noam Dar backstage asking Oro to be in his corner. He had done this before. He still didn't get an answer. Oh, he said, I'll be thinking about it. He's like, well, I booked you a five-star hotel. Like, I gave you things in exchange for this, and you're still thinking about it. He's like, there's no time for thinking as he's hugging his Heritage Cup for the match tonight. I thought it was pretty funny that we had something like that during the pre-show. I was hoping that we have a match, but they all wait until the show itself started.
It was a nice pace for tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, it's an NXT pay-per-view. They normally don't go crazy long anyways, but the six matches, I mean, they did have like commercials in between and like promos and backstage stuff to kind of fill more time, but it was a nice pace of stuff. I didn't feel like worn out by any of the matches.
Yeah, I almost predicted the whole order of the pay-per-view. Said that I had the Heritage Cup opening instead of the North American title. Aside from that, everything else had exactly the order that was gonna be. But we'll start from in the official show. We started with Wesley versus Tyler Bate versus Joe Gacy for the North American Championship. Again, this goes on to the storytelling of Wes and Tyler focusing on each other. So you think about Joe Gacy being a third person they're not really paying attention to as they should. I love that little bits and pieces that I could take notes on because they were going so fast for me. I'm trying to keep up with all three of them as well. I love the part of having Tyler just like taking Gacy on his shoulders and spinning him, and then when Wes is going towards him, he grabs him by the legs and does it again by grabbing Wes at the same time. I loved how beautiful that looked and the crowd reaction, how quickly they reacted. I was very well done. Very happy to see that. And again, there was another part I really enjoyed was when Gacy was having the submission on Wes, and Tyler just like kicks him, but he just flips his hair and starts smiling like
Yeah.
nothing's happening. I was like, this was amazing to see. Um, and Gacy had going again with like the submission on Tyler instead, but this time having Wes break it up. I really liked that when it came to the story in this match to end it more than anything. We had Gacy and Wes in there, and just when Tyler's on the outside, we have Wes coming in, takes care of Tyler outside, and he just goes. And him and Gacy both do the kicks at the same time, but he actually gains the momentum faster, so he ends up kicking Gacy instead, and that's how he wins the match with the cardiac kick. Overall, I feel like it was a great choice for an opener. They have really great energy. They already had that this is awesome chance to begin the show. Pacing was wonderful. I'm insane. I like how I went from doubting how West was gonna be from going from a tag team to being as a singles competitor here and killing it with every single match. And like I had mentioned, and I did takeover. It's taking over is that he's always been in these multi-man matches and still it blends so well. And I love how everybody has their moment to showcase. It isn't just like two people here and one outside and vice versa, anything like that. Like it's usually all three of them in the ring at the same time, which I really loved. What do you think about this match, Ella?
Yeah, like I feel like this was just a theme throughout the night. Like most of the matches, I think got like this is awesome chance, or the crowd was really, really into it, and I really thought that Gacy had it at the end there. I'm not gonna lie, I was like,
Yeah.
is Joe Gacy finally gonna like capture some
Mhm.
gold in NXT, singles gold anyway? And I thought he had it. I was like, Wesley's had a great run so far. I thought this might have been it, especially with triple threat. You don't have to lose. You don't have to get pinned to lose. I was like, if Wesley loses, it'll still kind of protect him, even if he doesn't get pinned. So I thought maybe there was a chance here, but Wesley retains. And kind of the question is like, what's next for him? He's beaten so many people now. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how can he level up even more? But I think, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
especially coming out of a tag team, the uncertainty that we had, I mean, he's far kind of exceeded that. And those apprehensions or maybe doubts have definitely eased themselves. I'm just interested to see who steps up next. And especially too, with Schism, with Joe Gacy in a few months losing two of his, allies once they leave, it's like, what's next for? I mean, he still has Ava Rain and stuff, as we'll mention
Mm-hmm.
her again later. But it's like, where does Joe Gacy go from here too? Because he's
Yeah.
losing two of his allies in a couple of months. So I'm interested to see how they build him too as well in Schism and how that kind of restructures itself, or if it just disintegrates.
And going to Schism too, I really thought Ava was going to be a factor in this match, being that she was outside and we had the triple threat match. Nothing of that
Not
aspect, as
till
we said.
later.
No, I was like, this is the match I was thinking she was going to get
Yeah.
herself in. And just as Wes is winning, you see her in the corner just standing by Gacy. And I'm like, you didn't do anything this time around. That's so surprising. Um, but yeah, other than that, I will be on my way, Ed. But yeah, this was interesting in this matches because I was thinking she's been encouraging him to get his own title shot. So I was thinking of all people, this will be the time for her to help somebody. And she didn't. So I was very surprised about that. And like you
No.
said, he's losing those two people soon. So I wonder how that will be moving forward for him. And like I think as we mentioned during the predictions that we did it with Doc as well, we're thinking is Wes's like Kryptonite gonna be a one-on-one match because it's always been a multi-man match for his championship. So when he goes one-on-one, is that the time when we are gonna have him lose a championship?
Yeah.
Because that will be interesting going forward. Um, but yeah, next after that, we had Dragon Lee versus Noam Dar with the Heritage Cup. Again, they give us a video package of the rules, which is we had the 3 minute rounds, 20-second break in between, and this is where can they go to their respective corners and get some advice and refresh for a moment before they continue. The pinfalls are or the wins or the victories are or the numbers. It's a pin, submission, or count out. And if when you get a pin, that's when the round ends. If you get a DQ or a knockout, that's when the match ends instantly. So I like how interesting enough we had no one come in by himself to start the match. Dragon Lee's coming with Nathan. So I was already thinking Nathan's gonna do something in here and he's gonna cost Dragon Lee the match. That was my overall thought process to start. But no, I one thing that we mentioned also during the predictions was the fact that Dragon Lee's style is always so fast paced. So
Yeah.
how is he gonna stop after the round is over? So it was like I was thinking, how is I want to see that on screen or how it affects him in the match because he's used to going, and not
Yeah.
going and stopping and going and stopping. So I wonder how would affect it like him and he's still moving forward and we that we had that happening like right from the get-go when the first round ends and he just like and the
The
stopping and the
referee has to stop
yeah.
him, or the one
I
time
thought it was
Noam Dar
funny.
attacked him to stop him.
Yes.
Yeah. That again, that was my first time seeing that match stipulation. I was like,
Yep.
how is this gonna play out? I thought like
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was like, this is gonna feel so like short, but it didn't,
Yeah.
overall. I will say obviously the only kind of scary thing was that spot towards the
Yeah.
end when Dragon Lee was
Mm-hmm.
going. I don't remember what moves he was doing, but he was going to the outside and maybe trying to do a Hurricane Rana or something, but his back like partially landed on the
Yeah.
apron and then hit his head on the floor and the outside. So that was a little bit scary for me. But overall, again, the crowd was really, really into this. And again, I've never seen a match like this. And I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people like myself hadn't seen that either. So we were like, how is this gonna work? But I thought especially towards the beginning, they kind of had a stalemate. They kept ducking each other's moves.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Noam Dar was a little bit fast paced too as well. I felt like they
Yeah.
gelled really well together. And then obviously Noam Dar retaining. I hope that Dragon Lee's okay. I don't know if he's hurt or not.
Yeah.
I would think he's be at the very least a little bit sore. My only concern is again his kind of well being and looking for a medical update on that because that looked nasty that one spot.
Yeah, and one thing that I also wanted to point out too is towards the end, towards like the middle-ish and like end of the match, we get that interaction between Nathan and Oro. Nathan's pushing Oro outside, and Oro kind of turns around and he goes after Nathan. They kind of battle it out. So the guys are looking at each other like, we don't have our people here now. And we get Jakara coming in. She's distracting the referee, and as she's doing it, Lash comes from behind, hitting Dragon Lee. I think it was with the like trash can lid, if I'm not mistaken, the way I saw it, and that really cost him the match at the end. And then the girls up with Aura came in to celebrate that Noam had retained the Heritage Cup, and we have a guest coming on. I'm gonna say officially guest. Hello. Can't hear you though.
No.
You may have to do the loud thing on your microphone. Maybe. Can't hear you though. Yeah,
I think he said he'll be back. Yeah.
So right after this, we had Dragunov versus Dijak. It was the last man standing match.
This match.
It was. I think the best way I can describe it was brutal, even between it. The only thing I wish I would have done is more stuff like on the outside, like using the surroundings. I feel like they mostly focused on the ring side, so I wish I would have changed a little bit. That was the only thing that I could criticize from the match in itself. But overall, I enjoyed how these two like just battle it out. How I don't want to say gruesome, but like how brutal they were to each other in this match. Maybe now, Ed?
I'm back. How about this?
There you go. Yeah,
we can hear me. Oh, there's so many stairs. Too many stairs. The line was wrapped around the building. And I'm a big guy, so that was a long line to walk through, then up the stairs, then down the stairs. Sorry, I don't like the building.
So it's
the
like
show was great. The show was great, man. Last Legend was about 50 feet away. During the end of the pre-show and the beginning, when Vic came out, I was watching Mackenzie mark out over her husband. She's filming him walk to the ring with her phone because she's only 100 feet away.
Yeah.
No, it was a great time. The crowd was wicked loud. My head hurts so much. The Dijak versus Ilja match was just fantastic.
I know.
A lot of it was hard to see from my spot because everything they did outside, they did right in front of the announcer's table. So I didn't have much of a view for that. Otherwise, A+ show, every match delivered. My buddy went to his first wrestling show, and as we're walking out of the building, he's like, all right, we're doing more of these. My response was, you fund it, I'll go.
You hooked him up. Yep. How was it seeing your favorite Lash Legend in person?
Oh. As soon as I saw Jakara, I literally looked to my right, and there comes Lash Legend. Because I caught the photo of her running through. Because I'm like, I know she's coming. Where is she? I mean, it was a fun idea. That match was really creative. I didn't see anything going the way they did it. The formation of a new stable is nice. It's our first new stable in NXT in a long time, so it'll be nice to see what happens there.
Yeah. So overall, at least it was good that you went.
Yeah, I had a ball. It's always great to see wrestling live. There's nothing better. If you ever get the opportunity, whether it be your local independent, whether it be NXT, Raw, SmackDown, a house show, TNA, AEW, ROH, hell, even the NWA, go watch professional wrestling live. There's nothing better than seeing it live.
He's only saying that because Tiffany won.
I mean, I may or may not have taken a few hundred photos during that match. There's no way to tell.
Busted.
Astrid's already seen the videos of the prettiest moonsault ever. I broke the rules and got 2 videos, one of each moonsault. So, Melo's homecoming was so loud.
I believe it.
I don't know how it translated to television. But my God, that arena erupted. But my MVP of the night isn't any of the in-ring talent. There is a guy who sits next to Alicia Taylor, and he is the NXT hype man. And he's my MVP. every time a small crowd chant gets going that they want to bring, he's up on his feet with his hands up and he's pointing his fingers, getting more people to join in, saying, this is something we want. Bring this chant. MVP of the night was that dude because we were loud, but he helped make sure that we knew which chants they wanted, because I had a drunk idiot next to me during the Tiffany Stratton match that, let's just say,
the worst time.
Yeah. Not only was that, it was like he was saying inappropriate things and then other things that we couldn't even understand. And it's just like, no, don't be that guy.
I've had to sit in front of that guy before.
Yeah, those guys are awful.
Yeah.
It was surprising to see how loud the crowd was against Breaker. It was interesting to see how loud the crowd was for not so much for Tiffany. I mean, I think me and Ashton talked about it on Tuesday about how much the crowds have turned for Tiffany. But the amazing part was that the crowd was in unison booing Lyra. Like, the entire crowd without being prompted. And trust me, Hype Guy was not happy that we were booing Lyra. He wasn't thrilled. They wanted to get her over. But instead of derailing the show any longer, I'm going to let you ladies kill it. Have a great show. Ella, it's so great to have you here. Maybe someday when I'm actually in studio, we can go ahead and do this.
I'm actually taking over the show permanently. I don't know if Astrid told you that.
That's fine. You know, I have a lot to do on Tuesdays. It's all right.
So do I. I work during that time.
But thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to talk to you for the first time.
That's
true.
The
last time I was here for a stream you were in, I was the backstage producer.
You were.
But you guys have a great show.
Yeah. Be safe when you get home.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Good night. Well, let's pick up where we left off. After Dragunov and Dijak, unless you have more thoughts about that one, since that's when it came in.
That was, I mean, like, man, it's hard like picking match of the night. I'm not one who's like super like gung-ho about like hardcore kind of stipulation matches personally, but that was like really good. Like Ilja taking, like, as they said, like torture, like egging Dijak on for more and more, and he pushed through it. And then that end with off the steel steps and smashing Dijak's face into the chair, I thought that, he fought through it. I thought that match was amazing.
Yeah, that's one that I want to watch, you guys. I want to kind of go down on the details because I didn't take down a lot of details when I was more like concentrated on them.
Yeah.
The part that I remember the most is like him being in the corner, kind of like just hanging from there, just taking anything that Dijak was giving him, and I was like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
And what I love about this match is like it was, I think, probably the only match that I had no idea who was gonna win. I was like, they could go either way, to be honest. So it was like that's what I was waiting for. It's like who's gonna win this match and how they're gonna win it, because it's something that I couldn't in my mind really predict, versus with the other matches that were a little bit more predictable in that aspect. So overall, enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because I'm really not the hardcore kind of person either. So I'm like seeing this, I was like, really well done, boys. Really well done. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually got I agree with you. This was actually the only match I got wrong for prediction wise. And again, I predicted Dijak, but like it really could have gone either way. This was probably the match I was like the most like unsure about, but that's kind of the thrill of it, is you don't know. And like Dijak was just honing it in to Ilja, and he was just absorbing it and fighting through it, and then he won. I thought that was a really great match.
Yeah, and going to throwback here, who was also on the show. The show was amazing. Lily was in shock when she got a photo with Trick. It was great seeing Ed. He was a few feet away from Ed. And thank you for the photo. Yeah, there was a part, I forgot during what match. I think it was around before Dijak and Dragunov was happening, or during it. There was a chant, and I could see throwback with her by the with the camera shot really quick that they did. It was really nice. So I was like, wait, I see throwback. And I went in and like rewinded a couple of seconds so I could take the picture for him. And I see we also have a new follower, if I'm reading it correctly. Von Pete, perhaps. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Next up, we had the Chase You segment. I think that was the only like really like segment that we had like backstage. That wasn't really an interview. Oh, and here Mark was saying one of the most brutal matches in NXT history.
yeah.
Yeah, most likely. Chase you, it was Duke was bringing Dempsey and Gulak, kind of having them in charge of the class, and they were just breaking down like Thea's match, and like I guess telling her in the way how she felt during the match in itself and studying the match, and just saying like not all the students have to fail for that to happen, and we just have Thea storming out of it. I'm glad that this they played something in between here because we I wasn't thinking that we're gonna have anything in between all the matches aside from like the one interview that we got. So I thought it was really nice that they include at least Chase U on this episode. It's like don't forget about them even though they're not here tonight. And even throwback saying Dijak and Dragunov match of the
I
night.
think I have to
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, granted, like I said,
Yeah.
all the matches were like at the very least good.
Mhm.
Most of them were really good or great. So none
Yeah.
of them really were subpar at all. Like it was an overall great card. But I think I do have to agree that Dijak and Dragunov was the best one.
Yeah. What did you think about the part with Chase U backstage?
I thought it was interesting. I feel like they're kind of like fracturing a bit. But I feel like they're always entertaining, especially I mean, I just love Thea personally. So I'm interested to see where they go next, who they could recruit next, because I know they've had a lot of signees recently, especially with like the Nile program and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I mean, did Jakara Jackson come from the Nile program? She might have. I don't remember. But we've been seeing some Nile people show up on like Level Up and stuff like that. So I want to see who kind of maybe might join them next.
Yeah. And then right after this, we just had a quick interview with Noam Dar about him retaining with Or, Jakara, and Lash. As Ed was saying, we have a new kind of stable forming there. I thought it was really well done. And throwback saying, but I know you're not near it, but Melo and Breaker was white hot, and Melo's mom and nephew was in front, and it was amazing to see the love from the state and the city also. Yeah, it was like I know it was a main event, so I didn't get to like take really a lot of notes on this one as we were getting ready to be here.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, I love how they had a really like great back and forth action in the match. It wasn't any kind of moment that would like really slow down, even with Bron Breaker being in there. And like we said, like Ed was saying, it was like having the crowd itself and how hot they were for Melo being there. Even the only thing is like I had like an inch of a doubt, mostly because you know how it is with WWE being in people's like hometowns and home states. It's like you
And
have that like,
lose.
are they
Yeah.
really gonna lose? So it's like that's the only like doubt that I had in my mind of like Carmelo losing. But it's really nice for having win in his hometown there with all the crowd. And it's like I think during the kickoff, if I'm not mistaken, they mentioned how he had 50 of his family and friends, and then I was like, dude has 50 people in there just by themselves. Can you imagine? Um, yeah, really well done. And as Mark is saying, the spear was horrible but fantastic.
If you're talking about the one where Carmelo comes off like the second rope and then to be met with the spear, that was like crazy. That I just posted the clip of it, retweeted the clip of it. That was crazy. There was a moment there I thought that really that Breaker, and again going into this, I was like, this is just Breaker's closure to like move on from the title picture. But there was a legit moment there where I was like, is Breaker going to win this? Like he said, a little bit of doubt, but not so because of the crowd thingy, but there was a few moments there where they almost got me.
Yeah, that's the thing that I have been during this match. Just thinking of like, are they gonna really do this? But I kept thinking like, this is the end from Braun. So it's like I wonder either how long he'll stay in NXT, not being a champion, or how long until he gets called up, depending how it goes. So just interesting to see from his end how it'll be now without a championship or being involved in the title picture like as a whole, because something we haven't seen in quite a while.
Yeah, I know. We were talking a bit before this, but I've been saying this on other shows. Like, I want to see what the heck Braun can do without a championship. Really, the only time in the last year he didn't have a championship was the stuff with Dolph Ziggler. And even when he didn't have a championship, he was still feuding with Dolph Ziggler. So now this is really the first time since in like a year and a half that he is I assume not going to be in the title picture, which is a long time for somebody. It's been like a year and a half. So I want to see what he can do. He's improved so much, but also I need to see what he can do without a championship, because you can't be defined by a championship. You need to be able to level up, I guess, from that and progress and continue developing. He's in his heel mode now. I want to see what else he can do with that, just out of a title scene, and have him challenge himself. I think he can be called up, but also like we really don't know what he can do without a title and without being in the title scene. I know that's why I said it. Bron needs to challenge himself and show me what, and not just me, but show us what he can do without being in the title scene.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel as well, because especially with that layer that he's a heel now. And so when we had him with Ziggler, he was more of a face, and he was still kind of in that, growing and learning. So I want to see how he goes against somebody that's a face without a championship and being that heel persona and growing that persona, because we barely had anything from him as a heel. And I feel like him being a heel has really given him that chance to have a personality more on screen, which is something that we've wanted from him since he debuted. Parrish going, Braun should be on Tough Enough. I
mean,
know.
He seems like a boot campy kind of guy. I mean, if you look at it that way, Parrish, I could see that. Dragunov versus Breaker. Is it bad to say? I don't know if Breaker would be ready for Dragunov. I don't know. I feel like, we saw a glimpse of it at like NXT Spring Break-In, but again, at that point, we already knew that he'd be challenging for the NXT Championship, so we knew that he had stuff beyond that. I want to see what he can do with a storyline with more substance to it than just kind of a one-off two-week build. I don't know who's going to be his next opponent, but I'm damn sure going to be tuning in.
Oh, yes. Right after Chase, even though we just discussed the main event, we had the Creeds versus Gallus. What I loved about this more than anything was the Gallus going with the quick tags that they had, the back and forth up until they had that moment of like they messed up with Julius, and Julius went, hot tagging all in during this match. And I love how fired up he was during the match in itself. I also love having like Ivy, who doesn't really get involved very often. I like seeing her get involved with Joey, and they're just like, no, you're not coming in here, honey. And like having him getting stopped, and right at the moments when we actually had Eva Rain come in, which is something that I didn't expect, because I thought, she should have got involved in the opener and not really in this one. So I thought it was interesting here. Her taking an Ivy really just distracts Julius in order for Gallus to do their finisher and just retain their championships. Like I said, I kept thinking, it's like, this is not the moment I kind of pictured Ava coming in here, but it worked out the way it did for a reason. I just wonder if moving forward the Creeds are going to say, we need a rematch because we had somebody getting involved in here. We really just want to have kind of like that one-on-one match moving forward, or what would happen with the storyline, or who really steps up against Gallus instead of the Creeds. So that's over, I guess.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Ava, like you said, inserted herself into this match instead of maybe, I guess, helping Joe Gacy earlier in the evening with the North American Championship. So I mean, obviously, I would assume they'll kind of be a side feud with Ivy and Ava and continue that. Again, who's next for Gallus though? I mean, the Creed brothers could have a point where like, like there was a distraction. You didn't really beat us clean. So they have a point there. They said the Great American Bash is next, I think. I don't know when exactly that is though. I don't remember.
It was July 30th, so they had to curse me out and do another Sunday show. Yeah.
Oh, that's a while. That's a while. Okay. Well, they normally do sometimes like an NXT like special sometime in the summer too, like just on normal NXT. So I could see the Creed brothers being like, yo, you didn't actually like beat us and wanting a rematch and them running it back. But we're definitely getting more of Ivy and Ava.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, because I feel like even though we don't really get to see Ivy wrestling too often, I feel she's somebody that can really help out Ava and help her learn and grow. So I think that would be interesting to see them on. We've only had Ava in one match so far in NXT officially on screen. So I think like moving forward, if they do have their match, I think it'll be interesting how it plays off on screen between both of them. Yeah, I'm just interested to see how it goes moving forward between them, because they've been like more like hitting each other like on the side and backstage and things like that. No, but nothing has been like official in the ring. So I wonder how that will play off and how they'll make the match official though. But yeah, I'm really excited for those two to get involved soon.
Me too.
And right after this, we had a vignette of the hooded figure who's been attacking people, I'm guessing from the parking lot up until Roxanne this past week. It's a female voice. We officially get recognitions. Like she says, I've wreaked havoc on the NXT women's division, but her voice is distorted, so really can't really tell who it is. And the voice actually keeps changing to it. It doesn't stay constant. Yeah, do you have any predictions of that, or that it could be? Because I don't so far.
I mean, okay, so I've seen reports of two names it could be, which are believable, but one is kind of less likely. The one people have been saying is Blair Davenport. Blair Davenport was the one. Yeah, we haven't seen her since Worlds Collide. She is also one of a throwback given the other name that was reported. It was between, I've heard Mandy and I've heard Blair. But also, like, you know, there's two women, Blair is one of them, from NXT UK that haven't come over yet, that weren't released. Blair is one, you know, she hasn't officially come over. I know Sean said on the media call that it's kind of up to her when she might come over. Maybe that's just an elaborate cover up though, and she's actually the masked assailant. But the other is Aaliyah James, who's still really young. I want to say she's only maybe 21. But she's also the only one that hasn't come over besides Blair from NXT UK, and we haven't ever seen her on NXT television at all. We haven't heard anything since disbanding, and literally everybody else has come over except her. So I don't really know what's going on there. Mandy would be an interesting and logical choice, but it seems very less likely to me. But then again, we've had a bunch of returns that I never thought could see. Oh, Millie McKenzie would be cool. But as far as I know, she still has indie bookings coming up. So I don't think it's her. Blair Davenport seems to make the most sense because she seems like I think she's worn a Black Hoods before somewhere in NXT UK or done some kind of character similar to that. She kind of has that aura where she seems like a dark and mystical kind of person. Mandy would be interesting though. Mandy would be the big shock, but I think Mandy's the least likely. So I guess it would be Blair Davenport, but also Stevie Turner. I know she's a baby face, but she's also kind of like a hacker kind of. But then again, the masked person I think has been there since before Stevie came on screen. But to me, she seems like she's a podcaster, but she also has that kind of hacker look, which kind of good. So there, maybe one of those four. I don't know who else it could be.
I thought about Steven just because of the voice tonight, because I kept thinking who's gonna be, like, I would say, smart enough with the computer to really distort their voice and like change it up. So like when you think it's like getting familiar, they change it up again. So I kept thinking maybe she's the only one that's been involved in computers in that way.
I didn't hear any British accent.
So it's like, I don't know. That's what the only thing that made me think could beat her. But I don't know. I wonder if it's somebody from the roster that's already there, not really a debut or a return. And I'm like, I know like somebody like Ed has been throwing out like Wendy around, who's been like in the background sometimes, but we don't get to see much from her. And we didn't get to see the masked person when Wendy got attacked. So
that's true, because I was about to say I've seen the photo of Wendy in the background in the car. But like it didn't seem that she was the masked assailant. It looked like she saw the masked assailant. So I kind of ruled Wendy out, but maybe it could have been photoshopped or something. Wendy would be a definite turn. That like if she turned into like crazy kind of psycho like hacker kind of like, I don't know, assailant, that would be a shock. But I'd be here for it.
Yeah, I'm like I wonder also if the hooded person has been doing the attacks in like the parking lot and even with Roxanne this past week, if it's the same person that does the NXT Anonymous Twitter account. I wonder if they're the same person or different people, because we got the hooded figure, but when it comes to NXT Anonymous, they put videos of other people. They really haven't really mentioned anything about themselves. So I wonder if there are two people or like the same person there. And if it is, somebody within the Twitter account, but when you look up, they're only following the WWE NXT account, so that doesn't really help when it comes to like the followers or anything like that. Mark, you say Mickey James when LJ is here? Come on.
Nothing wrong with that.
I love the mention, but I wish it was Mickey James. I wish.
It's not. I can confirm that it is not. That I can tell you.
Yeah. Oh, who we got here? Hello, Astrid and Ella. It's Bobby just hoping you wish an awesome stream. And you know what? Now that you say that, Bobby, you reminded me of something, because Bobby is going to have a reacts later on, or I guess when it's done, whenever that happens, with Lauren Goodnight about Double or Nothing. But you know one thing that Bobby's going to need tonight, because Bobby is one of those people that's going to have to be awake for a while, because AEW has a long pay-per-view. So let me tell you what. He's going to need more than anything our brand sponsor, Rogue Energy. If you haven't yet, go to rogueenergy.com. If you use our code OLEPOTS, or you can scan that QR code right below me, you can get 10% off your order and be just like Bobby and stay awake for a while. You have backup, Rogue Energy is right there for you. But But yeah, aside from that, I want to take this quick little moment to give you all what we had going on for the week now that we have a new wrestling week. After Double or Nothing, we're starting again fresh on Monday. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So playing you the calendar, what we have going on this week on OLE. Oh, there we go. This is what we have this week coming up on OLE. And I figure since we already talked about the main event, we're going to talk about our real main event, being the
I was
women's
about to say
wrestling
yes.
fans. This is our official main event. It was Lyra versus Tiffany for the NXT Women's Championship. As most of you know, had the championship. She had to relinquish it to her injury and getting called up to Raw. So they had to have a tournament that concluded tonight. Overall, I really enjoyed this match more than I thought I would. It goes as Tiffy time. Yes, it officially is Tiffy time. Really enjoyed this match more than I thought I would because going into the match in itself, Lyra has a knee injury based on when Cora hit her with the candlestick this past week on NXT. As Mark says, she finally did it. Yes, she did. I'm very glad she did. So we had that factor of Lyra's knee going on, but what I loved about it was that moment, those moments throughout the match that we had, Tiffany coming in, focusing on that knee, hitting that submission, hitting that bridge on the knee as she did, and turning it into a submission later on, showing really her power a lot as she did during this match as well, and like being that heel that she is, focusing on that body part, thinking she already is coming in not 100%, so let me focus on this more than anything. When she taking off the knee brace and focusing on that knee and the way she worked it, I really loved it from beginning to end. Just when we think like Lyra's taking a little bit of momentum because she hit her with, I think, a drop leg, if I'm not mistaken, she couldn't really capitalize on it and get the pin because of her knee and being able to go back and stand up. But yeah, we had little parts of like when you think Lyra is going in and she's getting that momentum, Tiffany really just stops it in those moments, and you're like, holy crap, Tiffany's got this. And I love the way that Tiffany showed her up because even Lyra comes in to do a little crossbody and Tiffany just picks her up. She's rolling through, and the way she showed it off, like the crowd, like that reaction really made that moment for me there too. But yeah, and at first she had the first moonsault, and that's when I thought it was gonna end, but it actually didn't connect. Correct.
Yeah.
So they worked a little bit more together, and at the end, Tiffany does the PME, and for the 1, 2, 3, we have a new NXT Women's Champion. It's officially Tiffy time, as I was saying. Tiffany's our new NXT Women's Champion. Very happy with this. I kept hoping. I was like, please don't give it to Lyra. She's injured on top of it anyway. But yeah, I was like, this is definitely had to be Tiffany's crowning moment. There was nobody else's from like the beginning of the tournament. We had that feeling that was going to be Tiffany's time. And I love how even like as I was mentioning with the crowd, they kept going and they would kept cheering for her throughout this match, no matter how it was. And I love how the roles were really reversed in this. We had, people booing for Lyra and they actually cheering for Tiffany, knowing that this is her moment after, her hard work and her improvement. And this was the moment that it had to happen. But definitely, as Mark is saying, the Burt Woman's best match by far. Yes, I agree with that. I was telling Elle as we were watching it too, and even messaging Ed. I haven't been a fan of Lyra since her debut, but this is definitely her best match so far. I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. Loved it. And it was the only women's match. I was hoping they would show out enough that we, that will make us think is like, they really highlighted the woman very well tonight. I really loved it. What did you think, Ella?
I think not that I didn't think that these women could deliver, but it was a lot better than I was expecting, to be honest. Like especially to considering Tiffany's been doing this less than 2 years. Like I think she signed in August or September of 2021. So she's been doing this less than 2 years, and she's been very open, about how like she's still evolving and still learning, and we can see that. But like just the progression that she has made, and also like granted she's a gymnast, she has that natural athleticism. I think this was Tiffany's best match by far. I know Lyra is definitely the in-ring veteran here. I like how you said the roles were reversed. First of all, I love their ring gear too, both of them. Lyra had all of the gold. Part of me was like, it would have been cool for Lyra because she would have been the first Irish-born NXT Women's Champion. Not to say that that can't happen in the future, but I definitely agree that it was Tiffy time. She had been at the top, but not at the very top yet. I just hope, though, with everything that's happened the last 6 months, all the abrupt changes and everything, that just give us like at least 3 months. Like we need something constant because there's been so many shakeups in the NXT women's division in the last 6 months alone that like I feel like we need a ride for a little bit to kind of get ourselves back on track. That's not taking anything away from the talents, but there's just been so much theatrics and injuries and backstage stuff going on that it's kind of like not poisoned it, but like spoiled it a little bit, the NXT Women's Championship, I think. So hopefully with Tiffany now as champ, injuries are one thing, but hopefully she stays healthy and we can kind of get back on track to the NXT women's division that we all know and love.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be something more steady because we had between everything that happened with Mandy, and then we get Roxanne and her and everything with like the official anxiety and the show that happened to her to like going to Indy. And now
Mania
Indy
season. I wasn't thinking Mania season. I was thinking like at least in the fall. I mean, it could be that long. I'm just, I'm just thinking baby steps for me. My expectations are a little bit low based on everything that's been happening. I was like, at least let it run into the fall, like at least 4 or 5 months, like let her get something in. I think she can run a lot longer. There's a lot of NXT women coming up, we'll see what happens. It's Tiffy time.
Yeah, what I love about it is that it's something more fresh now that we have her here, and we can have her go against Lyra again, we can have her against Cora, we can have her against Roxanne, Kiana, Fallon, and it'll bring something new to the table with all of them kind of rounding off against Tiffany for a little while there. But yeah, I will definitely give her like at least 4 to 5 months with the championship, like at least minimum, and have her like this is her way of her growing as well, her character now that she's champion. And growing like that confidence between within her as champion as well. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with how this turned out tonight. I feel like everything went really well tonight. I feel like there was no bad match for me. It could have been like it could have had its up and downs, but nothing that was like I said this was really bad or like boring or like it didn't have my attention. Nothing negative in that aspect. So this is why I'm glad that we have only 6 matches so they can really give them time and really concentrate on them, and they're not rushing them either. So I feel like everybody had decent time tonight. Yeah, it was like overall a really great show. Did you have any like overall thoughts about the show?
Yeah, the only kind of low was kind of the scary spots that kind of happened, like the spear into Carmelo. I was like, oh gosh. And then obviously with Dragon Lee, kind of I don't know if he got injured or not. For me, that's really the only lows of this pay-per-view is just I want to be sure everybody's okay. That's really the only kind of not criticisms, but like kind of low that happened. I think again, there isn't too many pay-per-views too often where I'm like every match was like at the very least good. Like none of these were subpar or anything. The crowd was really invested in all of these matches. Which I don't think happens a lot in pro wrestling nowadays, especially on pay-per-views. And maybe it was because, it was only 6 matches. A lot of the pay-per-views have like 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe. 6 was a good number. They obviously filled some time with some backstage segments to kind of further some other stories. Was some plot twists. For me, though, still match tonight. It has to be Ilja and Dijak.
Yeah, I feel like it's tough to even pick like the best match of the night, but like thinking of how brutal it was and how they work well with each other, I definitely would pick that one as well. But yeah, before we move on, I wanted to thank you again for being here with me tonight to do this Battleground post show, being that Ed couldn't be here. He was enjoying the show in itself. But aside from that, where can the people find you on the social media? What do you have going on this coming week?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at it's Ella J. If you go to the link in my bio, you can find all my links to all my podcasts and projects there. This Wednesday, I'm recording 4 podcasts in one day and one evening, actually. I think only one of them's live, so you'll know when everything's out. But yeah, this feels like a mania week, like coming off of it. It's been actually a crazy week. Like I said, I have 4 podcasts on Wednesday. After that, though, I'm looking forward to just kind of chilling a little bit, at least podcasting wise. This week feels like it really felt like a mania week, work wise and pay-per-view wise. It was a lot, but it really was a fun weekend overall.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I don't want to spoil it but you were interviewing Jade. I forgot what platform it was. SES Scoops, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, you definitely can watch it. I know that there you go. As I was saying, check out Ella's interview with Jade if you haven't yet. You can go on.
I just want to say that I low key called it. I'm glad that I asked her about so before we went on, as Carmelo and Bron Breakker was wrapping up, I go on my timeline and then I see a picture of Chris Statlander, and I'm like, what? So I still have to go back and watch that. But I mean, this kind of segues into the other stream that's going on here tonight. But Chris Statlander dethroning Jade Cargill. I'm glad I asked Jade about Chris Statlander when I did.
Well, you got a clip there for sure.
Yeah.
But no, we're obviously not going to be discussing Double or Nothing. We're going to leave that up to Lauren and Bobby. Hope be doing that once the show's over. I'm not giving any time because we don't know when when the pay-per-view is going to really be
the main
over.
event right now. So
so whenever it ends, they'll definitely be on sometime soon. But yeah, check them out if you haven't. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, from Parrish and even Ed stopping in and on his way home. And as we had Throwback in here and Mark as well, thank you everybody for being here tonight. Again, you can find me on my Twitter, which is Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. So definitely you'll find me there. Everything. I just released my interview yesterday with Alyssa Marina, who does actually commentary with LJ herself. So you haven't checked that out yet, it's on my YouTube channel. And if you haven't yet, you can subscribe to it. Click on that bell to get notified whenever I make a new upload as well. I also uploaded the predictions to Battleground that we did with Doc, and this will be going on the YouTube channel as well if you didn't get to catch it live. But yeah, we want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. Stick around if you want to discuss Double or Nothing with Lauren and Bobby. That will be coming on soon. Other than that, the next thing will be the Raw Watch Along. But my replace is much better than me. No, it was just one
can't
night,
replace you. I don't have the schedule to do that.
It's just one night only. We promised you. So there you go. One night only.
Maybe not one night only. I wouldn't say that. I definitely want to be back on here some other time. But Ed, I respect your full-time position here.
There you go. But no, thank you everybody for being here, and then we'll see you next time. Bye.
Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the